Can you hear me? Geppetto's puppet. We need you.
Where the hell am I? Well, hello. I know I've been gone for, a little bit, but let's not talk about that here, right? I'll just tell you all about it at the end of the video, if you survived that long. Now today is a special day, and a day that I didn't really expect would come so soon, but here I am, doing a video on Lies of P. Mostly because it just got deleted from Game Pass, and I really wanted to do a Lies of P video, and I just thought that, you know, it's now or never, so I decided to record a bunch of footage, and here I am. But don't tell anyone. So before we start, I find it imperative to tell you about my relationship with SOULSBORNE games, or rather, an absence of that. The only SOULSBORNE game I've ever played was Bloodborne, and I failed to finish it, not because it was difficult or I rage quit at some point. I got lost. I don't remember where, I don't remember how, but I got lost, and I never found my way forward, and that basically forced me to drop the game. Forever. I still haven't finished it till this day. And what's the most disappointing thing is that I believe I almost finished it. I saw some other people play this game, and they fought bosses that they called endgame bosses. And I remember fighting one of them, so I must have been very close to finishing the game, but it's okay, I'm not bitter. Not at all. So, given my absent relationship with SOULSBORNE games, when Lies of P was first announced, I really didn't think much of it. I just thought, oh well, it's another SOULSBORNE clone. How many of those do we have now? Like probably 459 or something like that. But the setting did prove to be quite interesting, of essentially being Pinocchio, but with atrocious monsters and huge weapons, mechanical arms, robots instead of people. Okay, you got me. I'm interested. Also, it was on Game Pass. Well, I mean, now it's not, but it was. So I thought, no harm in checking that out. And let me tell you, that was probably the best decision I've ever made. So this video is not particularly gonna be a review of Lies of P or anything of the sort. It's mostly gonna be my thoughts and my experience with the game, and why I feel like the game turned out to be more enjoyable for me and other people that are considered casual players. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I feel like a quick rundown of what a SOULSBORNE game is in order, for people who are not familiar with the term, or maybe for people who've never engaged with SOULSBORNE games. So let's get that out of the way. SOULSBORNE games are known to have teeth-crushing, nerve-shatteringly difficult combat at first glance, all while actually being fairly reasonable to the player. Your success depends on your ability to understand the game's intricate mechanics and, more importantly, its timings. And even though on paper, the idea of making an incredibly difficult game sounds abhorrent, the feeling that you get when you finally beat the boss that has been drilling your ass relentlessly for hours, days, weeks, sometimes even months, is exactly the payoff that got people hooked on this formula. Not to mention that this feeling is incredible to both experience yourself and watch other people experience on live streams and video playthroughs, which I believe contributed massively to the genre's popularity. So basically, these games are a massive serotonin boost. Hell, even me, as a casual player, I really enjoyed my time with both Lies of P and Bloodborne, even considering that I've never finished the latter. Also, pretty much all of the Soulsborne games have the most immaculate visual design you've ever seen in a video game, for no reason at all. And yes, while there have been many attempts to copy the originator of this whole genre, that being the Demon's Souls or Dark Souls games, none of the clones came quite as close as Lies of P. So let's finally dive in and dissect what exactly made Lies of P so enjoyable for the general public and casual players such as myself. Well, to start off, I feel like everyone can agree, or at least that's how I felt, the game is significantly easier than the other Soulsborne titles. Now, some people believe that the game is easier by design, whether it being with enemies having less HP or having less damaging attacks. I believe that the game feels easier due to the amount of mechanics that make for a slightly more forgiving playthrough, whether you're a newer player or an experienced one. Lies of P copied just the right mechanics from other Souls-likes like Bloodborne's health regain and Vicious Strike, and Sekiro's parry system and mechanical arm thing, and then combined them in a way that is not too overwhelming for the player to process and utilize. And to add to that, all of the weapons in this game are pretty good and pretty strong, and the accessories that you get can be particularly game-changing. And the smart use of all of the things listed above rewards you with massive damage to your enemies while leaving not as much space for mistakes as in the other Soulsborne games. There's also one particular thing that sets Lies of P apart for me from other Soulsborne games, and that's the amount of customization that you get in this game. And there is a lot of customization, trust me. For example, there is the weapon combination mechanic. If you like a certain moveset on a certain weapon, you can take its hilt, which will inherit the moveset itself, and combine it with a blade that deals more or a different type of damage, making your ultimate weapon. And the Legion arm allows you to individualize your playstyle even further, either by adding elemental damage to your kit, defensive options, maneuverability options, traps, guns that shoot bombs, like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. The choice is yours. Then there's also basic bitch stats that you get in every game, and the quartz system that provides you with buffs that are so busted that you'll be questioning whether you're playing a Souls-like at all. Until you reach the next boss, that is. Now, what exactly did I mean by absolutely busted upgrades? Let me give you an example. The Legion arm upgrades make it so that you basically have infinite arm charge, with perks like auto regeneration and Legion gain on enemy elimination. Once I got these upgrades, I barely used my weapons for world exploration. Why would I, when my electric glove one-shots every single enemy I come across? And so my interest was piqued with the promise of an uber customizable experience and less of a challenging project than the other Soulsborne games. But, at the end of the day, it is still a Soulsborne game. So how did this game manage to keep me, a silly little casual player, seated until the credits roll? Well, my reasoning on that is probably a little bit obscure, but just bear with me here. I believe that the game always nudges you in the right direction without you even noticing it. For example, you can't really use a singular weapon throughout your entire playthrough. I mean, technically you can, but you will encounter difficulties. For example, my favorite weapon is the Puppet Ripper Scythe. It's so overpowered, it's insane damage-wise, range-wise, everything-wise, it's just a good weapon. But it is using wide attacks. So, if I'm ever in a situation where I'm in a very narrow passage, my scythe basically becomes a liability, opening me up to enemies' attacks. Because in this game, weapons actually get stuck on walls if you hit them. So, you are stunned for like 2 milliseconds. But if you played Soulsborne games, you know that 2 milliseconds is more than enough to absolutely demolish you. So basically, the game encourages weapon variety for yourself so that you would avoid such situations. That's why I picked up the second weapon as the dagger type umbrella. It's a lot of fun. Another good example would be fury attacks, which cannot be dodged, cannot be guarded, they can only be perfect parried. Yes, you can play through most of the game just with dodging or just with guarding, but fury attacks are the exception. If you try and dodge them, they will hit you through the invincibility frames, and if you try and guard them, they will break your guard and deal massive damage. So basically, whenever you encounter an enemy that has a fury attack, you are left with no choice but to master parrying. Now, I would recommend you getting into parrying in general, because whether for good or for bad, the game often gives preference to parrying, whether by fury attacks or simply by the number of attacks that some enemies produce. So I hope you understand what I was trying to get at by providing you these examples. I feel like the game always lets you know what specifically you need to use in this situation. That way, you are never presented with a question of what to do, but with a question of how do I get good enough to do this? So to sum up, the game still has that satisfying combat loop of other Soulsborne games, but this time, in this title, it is sprinkled with so many mechanics that are on the player's side. These mechanics are not there to make your playthrough harder, they are there to make your playthrough easier. And the amount of such mechanics made it so much simpler to go through this game, even for a casual player like myself. Ugh. It's a different day, and I took a shower. Nobody asked. Also, it's been like a couple of days since the last recording session, and Microsoft dropped an Oblivion remaster on me. Where did that come from? Now, I think I've talked enough gameplay this, gameplay that, and gameplay, don't get me wrong, is a very crucial part of any Soulsborne title, but it's not its only part. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about and kind of point at, basically, that got me irresistibly hooked on this title is its visual direction.
Destination Hotel Quad. Optimal location for observing the destination.
I don't think I'm going to be talking about every single location this game has to offer. However, I did want to focus on a particular one, and it might be considered a light spoiler for someone. It is a mid-game location, so let's call it a location spoiler. So if you care about that, when the time comes, just jump to a different timestamp, but I will get to that a little bit later. Now, if I had to quickly describe my opinion on the game's visual design, or particularly environmental design, I'd say I mostly like it. There are some locations that go incredibly hard, including the one I want to talk about a bit later, but unfortunately, there are some places closer to, I'd say, endgame that feel slightly less inspired. But usually you do get something pretty cool at the end of these locations, like a cool boss fight or something of the sort, so it kind of cancels out. My hair will not stay in one place. Jesus Christ. The world itself is somewhat interconnected, I would say, and it actually changes depending on which point in the story you're at. And exploring said world feels rather rewarding, with a plethora of weapons, quartz pieces, level up items, and even outfits for you to get. On top of that, you also get a bunch of shortcuts that you open as you progress through the location, which makes dying in a later stage of said location much less tedious, which is always welcome. So overall, my thoughts on the world itself are more positive than negative, even though there are a few locations that kind of ticked me off a little bit. If you know, well, actually, how can you know if I'm the one that doesn't like them? But you probably can guess which ones I'm talking about. Yeah, they were not particularly engaging. However, now is the time to talk specific locations, or rather specific location. So, like I said, jump to a different timestamp if you haven't played the game or if you don't want any spoilers, location spoilers whatsoever. I probably have a timestamp for you in the description to jump to the next point that I'm going to be making. And the location that I really wanted to talk about, I guess it's kind of an obvious choice, but it's a good one. You can't even deny that. It's the Opera House. Now, before I even start talking about the location itself, there is a little bit of context you need for my relationship with this place. Is that the boss that is in this location actually forced me to uninstall the game for quite some time. Yes, I actually failed to beat the Puppet King on the first installation of the game, shall we say. I don't remember particularly what knocked me out of that fight. I assume it's the second stage, because second stage can... There's probably no PG way to express my disdain for the second phase of that boss fight. But in any case, it took me out, and then I dropped the game for a couple of months, I believe. Then I reinstalled it, and I beat the boss on my second attempt. And I know that there have been nerfs, I believe, for some bosses. I don't know if the Puppet King boss was one of those nerfs, but I don't know, I just came back and beat him on the second try. Anyways, the reason you needed to know that is, even though I have a pretty... I don't want to say traumatic, that's a little bit over the top, like, calm down. It's just a game. Even though I have a very rocky relationship with the boss fight in this area and the normal enemies as well, they are annoying as... There's no PG way to express my disdain. Actually, why am I so focused on being PG? It's not like my videos are monetized. Anyways, even all of these things combined could not sway me to dislike this location. Everything in this place feels right. The lighting, the textures, the ornaments, the stonework, the architecture, everything, literally everything felt right. The soundtrack that plays in the background, so haunting, so beautiful, so insane. Enemies that look like ballerinas and opera singers. It's it's just peak design. I'm sorry, but none of the locations in this game come even close to the Opera House. And I believe it should be obvious. I don't know if it is. I haven't really seen the discourse around this game, so I don't know which locations people like or don't like. But the Opera House is easily my favorite location, even though it harbors one of my least favorite bosses in this entire game, and one of my most hated normal enemies in the entire game. It still wasn't enough for me to not enjoy this location. And that's why I always feel like you should have an objective side to all of your judgments, because yes, the game is particularly difficult, and this location kinda broke me completely, like I said, to the point that I uninstalled the game. It's still important to recognize the work put into every single design, every single environmental design or boss design, any design, anything at all when it comes to video games. You know, there are people sometimes that go on like Metacritic or whatever and leave reviews like, oh my god, I couldn't beat the game, so it's bad. Like, no, it isn't. Who are you? Who gave you a phone? Get out. And even for me, like, yeah, the Opera House completely broke my experience, basically my first ever experience playing this game. I rage quit, I crashed out, whatever you want to use, whatever's popular right now, and you would think that I would also come to hate this location. But I kind of always have this understanding in the back of my brain that it's just the type of game that it is, and there is nothing I can do to force myself to like it. I can beat it, but I can't force myself to like it, and that's fine. I can still appreciate what this game has to offer, even without me particularly liking the formula. Is that so difficult to understand? So anyways, the takeaway is, if you're able to, please, 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 Sabrina Carpenter, please, 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 make the most objective judgments that you can when it comes to a video game. It's just gonna help you too. There's no point in wallowing in this hatred towards something, and there's also no point in saying like negative things and sending that out into the universe. Just, if you don't like something, there's probably still something you can enjoy about the game. Even the games that I've dropped have always had some kind of quality that attracted me to them in the first place. So just try and focus on that. Just try and focus on something that you find enjoyable about a game, and don't dwell on the things that you don't like. How did this turn into a rant? I do not know. And I'm sorry. Anyways. Now that I think about it, the fact that I talked about the Opera House is the perfect segue to the next point that I would love to talk about. And that's one other thing that really surprised. I would say this is the most surprised I've ever been by a game in a very long time. And that is this title's music. Okay, so I just want to start this off by saying that for me, musical score often not particularly defines, but helps me to define whether or not I like the game. It influences my opinion on it heavily. There have been cases where a game that is not particularly well made has been saved for me solely because it has bomb soundtrack. One of those cases would be Soul Hackers 2. If you don't like JRPGs, Persona, all that stuff, you probably don't even know this game exists. But the game itself was incredibly, and that's me being very generous by saying this, it was incredibly mid. But the soundtrack that they put out for this game, I don't know why am I pointing at my door. The soundtrack to this game was incredible. It's an OST that I listen to still, even after like maybe a year or a year and a half, somewhere from a year or 2 years since I played this game for the first time, I still listen to it like a few times a week. And I actually ended up playing this game 5 times, I believe, even though, trust me, there are a lot of things that I do not enjoy about it. Maybe one day I will make a video about it, but I don't really see any point in making a video about a game that no one really knows and no one really likes. But if you made it to this point, and if you're interested in learning about this game and, you know, just to educate yourself on some new games and stuff, then sure, I'll make it, but at this point, I don't really see any point to it. But back to Lies of P, with this game, things are slightly different. See, at certain points in the game, or for completing some quests and stuff like that, you are awarded a vinyl record, which is already a vibe, if you couldn't tell, for me personally. And the catch is that these records are not just collectibles, they actually play a certain role in the game. I will not disclose that right now in case you're not here for spoilers and stuff like that. So let's just say that these records have an additional goal besides just collecting and listening to music. That's really important. I did not expect that. Not to mention that some of these tracks on these records are just... stunning is probably the word I'm looking for. And honestly, I want to go on a little bit of a rant here again, but I promise it's a short one. At some point in the game, when I listened to that song, you know, the one from a few seconds ago, I was overwhelmed with thoughts like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is free. I really don't know why, but this particular thought came over me at that moment. Like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is my in-game reward. I didn't even need to pay for a digital soundtrack or anything like that. I just get it for playing the game. I just get it as a quest reward. And on top of all that, it actually plays a different role, a significant role in the game as well. It was kind of mind-boggling. I don't really know why, but it's just really nice. You know, this game just as a package, it's so nice. It feels like a polished, well thought out game that you get from the start. Like, you know, there were cases with Final Fantasy 15, for example, where you get the game and then they literally added cutscenes in patches. What? Okay, disclaimer, I absolutely adore Final Fantasy 15, and there will be a video on Final Fantasy 15, so don't come for me. But I mean, it is crazy, you have to agree. But I just listened to these records, and I just thought, man, this game really is the video game. This is a full package. This is a complete video game. I don't even know how to describe it to you. That's just how I felt. Let's move on to the next point that I wanted to make. Now then, the last point that I really wanted to kind of focus on, but not really, is the game's story and side quests. Now be warned, this section of the video is probably gonna be a bit spoiler heavy. I don't see any way I can talk about the things that I want without spoiling some things. I will be talking about story-dependent mechanics, I will be talking about the true ending and the requirements to get it. I will give you a bit of a spoiler-free overview at first, but then I will switch to spoilers and you can skip that section in particular if you don't want it. Okay, so with my limited knowledge of the Soulsborne games, I feel like, and you can correct me on this, I actually welcome any corrections on this, but I believe Lies of P is probably the most explicit Soulsborne story we've ever gotten. It has a fully fleshed out plot, with dialogues, with a little bit of cutscenes, and character motivations, and all that jazz. So the story is kinda laid out right in front of you. There's no need to study your environment or study some documents and whatnot to piece it together. It's kind of just served to you on a silver platter. And the plot itself isn't bad, really. Sure, it's a little bit simplistic, it's a little bit predictable, but it's definitely not bad. It does the job well, it moves you from location to location, provides some motivations for why characters do this, do that, why you do this, do that, and that works. Honestly, there isn't really much you need to ask for when it comes to a Soulsborne plot, so I found myself actually enjoying it a lot. However, where this game truly shines, in my personal opinion, is the side quests scattered throughout the city of Krat. Most of them show the struggles of ordinary, sick and scared citizens, and also your own hotel companions, bringing you ever closer to this city and its secrets, tragedies, and betrayals.
You are a good Samaritan for coming all the way here. Kind one. May I ask you a favor? My family took my baby from me and sent me here. They said it was for my own good, but it was heartless just the same.
And I cannot stress this enough, I highly, highly, highly recommend playing through as many of them as you can, and you will always know if you have a side quest by these little portraits that you have near the locations when you are in the fast travel menu, and that's how you know that there's probably something or someone that you need to talk to and accept a side quest. These side quests tackle a bit more of the philosophical and existential part of the game, like the whole puppets versus humans debate, and love and revenge, anger, all that stuff. There's a lot going on. Just play them. Trust me, you won't regret it. And I've just realized that, all this talk about story and quests and whatnot, and I kind of failed to talk about the main mechanic that kind of sets this game apart from every other title, and it's like the main feature of the entire game. I'm sorry, I forgot about that, but that is lying.
One more thing I should mention. The hotel's security excludes puppets like you. So you'll have to lie to get inside. You're a special puppet after all.
See, in the city of Krat, where mechanical beings known as puppets have started to overtake humans in everything and everywhere, they were installed with a set of commands that they cannot override. And one of these commands states that a puppet cannot lie. We, however, are different. We are not like the other girls. We are such a pick-me. Oh, I'm not funny. We are a special puppet, designed without these limitations. We are able to lie, to influence someone's story, protect our own secrets, tell people what they want to hear in order to get them to cooperate with us. And every time you lie, or show something resembling a human, you are warned that your springs are reacting. Okay, my dramatic monologuing aside, lying doesn't really change the main story all that much, except for maybe 2 or 3 things, including the ending. But if you want to get the true ending, you're gonna have to lie a lot. However, that's a big however. Just because you need lying for the true ending doesn't mean that it's always good. You know, I did just say that lying doesn't really affect the main story, but it does affect the side quests that I just mentioned. Now, there is a side quest in the game that gets... Now, I don't really want to spoil too much, so I won't go into particular detail, but there is a side quest in this game that gets completely blocked if you lie about it to someone. If you tell the truth, which is kind of what you don't want to do in order to get the true ending, you get to progress that side quest. What I was trying to say with that is that lying, although highly encouraged, is not always your best option, but I have a feeling that the game is kind of black and white with it, so you can always see when you need to lie or when you need to tell the truth. It's gonna be quite obvious, and if not, there are always guides on the internet that you can look up if you want to know who is best to lie to and who is best to tell the truth to. That's completely up to you. But what I feel like is more fun, just play the game for yourself and give the answers that you feel like you would have given, and see if you manage to get the true ending or not. If you do, that means you are a born liar. So yes, in overview, lying isn't really much of a game changer when it comes to the main story, but it is drastically affecting some of your side quests. I probably didn't mention that before. I didn't mean all of them. Some side quests are drastically affected by whether or not you lie to people or not. But I mean, it is an interesting mechanic. I wish they would have done more with it. Like, I wish there would be more opportunities to use it and more changes depending on how you use it. But it did kinda influence some of my decisions while I was journeying through Krot, so I guess it did its job. So that's fun. Alright, I feel like it's actually time for me to wrap this video up, because I kinda talked about everything that... Well, it's not particularly a video, like I said, it's not a review, nothing of that sort. It's just my personal experiences with the game, my thoughts that I kinda got while I was journeying through. So, well, I hope it was enjoyable anyway. So yeah, Lies of P is the first and only Soulsborne game that I've actually fully finished twice, now that I think about it. With its more simplified and forgiving gameplay, immaculate visual design in some areas, a memorable music score, and overall a highly customizable experience where even a casual player like me has found a comfortable way of playing, there really isn't anything more I could have asked from this title. Now, of course, there are things that I didn't enjoy as much. I guess I could make like a dishonorable mention at the end of the video. There is one thing that really frustrated me, and that's the fact that the enemy's attacks kind of get magnetized to you. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, they can be like literal miles away from you, winding up their attack, and you think, oh, I'm good, he's gonna miss that. And then the second that attack goes off, he roller slides to you, and that attack connects, and you don't block it and don't dodge it because you are so sure that it's not gonna reach you. That is a little bit of annoyance, but overall not completely off-putting. If you get used to it, if you keep that in mind that that's what happens in this game, you will adjust your playstyle accordingly and it will no longer present an issue to you. Now, there's also a DLC coming out for this game, I believe this summer. I'm not particularly sure what it's gonna be about. I haven't seen the trailer, I haven't seen any articles on it, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be playing it myself since I don't have Lies of P owned. I only played it on Game Pass, and I don't think I want to purchase it anytime soon, not yet at least. But if you want more Lies of P, there is also more content on the way. So yeah, let me know if you like the game, or whether you enjoyed it or not. Was it easy? Was it hard? I personally welcome opinions from all types of players, whether you are a Soulsborne noob like myself, or whether you are a Soulsborne veteran who've played the entire Soulsborne collection. I want to know each and every opinion you guys have, because it is kind of interesting how this game took everyone by storm. It is incredibly popular, and honestly, deserved. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. I'm sorry I was gone for so long. There's been so much going on this year already, but at the same time, nothing at all. I started the year with a buttload of tooth problems. I had to go to the dentist for like a month or two to get rid of a certain toothache that I had. That was... I don't even want to talk about it. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you, after that I just procrastinated and couldn't get myself to do anything, but that's just the kind of person that I am. So honestly, it's kind of a miracle that I'm even sitting right now and recording this video, and it's probably gonna take me like another 3 weeks to edit it and upload that. Why am I like this? But anyways, I do really want to make more videos because there are so many games that I need to talk about, and I've actually decided that I'm gonna switch my content less towards reviewing games, as I felt with some other titles that I've made, and more so expressing my experience with it and spreading a bit more of a positive message. Basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm gonna be yelling about games that I enjoy and why I enjoy them. I feel like that's kind of what we need right now. We don't need any more negativity. We need a bit more positive things. We need to remember why video games are great. We need to love video games and what they do for us. So that's probably the type of content I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be posting videos about games that I particularly enjoy, and trust me, there is a lot of games that I particularly enjoy, and maybe some other stuff here and there, maybe some new games that I've played or something like that, you know, but we'll figure it out. For example, I played Oblivion, but I didn't enjoy it at all, so I don't think I'm gonna be making a video on that anytime soon, or at all. So yeah, I want to be yapping about video games, and if you're up for that, if you're up for remembering some games that you maybe forgot, or maybe finding some new titles for yourself, because I've played a lot of games in my time. I sound like an old man. Well, I am, technically. With the amounts of health problems that I have, I am an 80-year-old man. I don't want to talk about it. So, anyways, yeah. Stay cool. I was gonna say stay high. Probably don't do that. Stay cool, stay you, whatever Pinterest garbage you want from me.